What if I told you that the secret to inner peace wasn't in meditation apps, expensive retreats, or endless self-help books, but in something as simple as a glass of water? A restless young man named Marco discovered this truth in a hillside village, and it changed everything. The wise old man there gave him one task that silenced his racing mind forever. Marco couldn't remember the last time his mind had been quiet. Thoughts rushed through his head like an overflowing river day and night. He woke up tired, dragging himself through work with foggy eyes and a tense jaw. At night, his pillow collected the sweat of anxious dreams about mistakes from years ago and worries about tomorrow. People noticed the dark circles under his eyes. You should try meditation, they said, or yoga, or breathwork. He downloaded apps, bought books, even visited therapists. For a few days, each solution would help a little. Then the thoughts came back, louder than before. Research shows this is common. 6 out of 10 adults report their own minds keeping them awake at night, making it hard to focus during the day. One evening, Marco sat staring at his phone, scrolling through another article about mindfulness when a message popped up from an old friend. Remember that village in the hills we visited as kids? There's a man there now. People say he helps with problems like yours. Doesn't charge money, doesn't even talk much. It sounded too simple, but Marco had tried everything complicated. The next morning, he packed one small bag, just a change of clothes, a water bottle, and the last of his sleeping pills. The bus ride took hours, winding up steep roads. With each mile, the air smelled less like exhaust and more like wet earth. By the time he stepped off at the village stop, his phone had no signal. A good sign, he thought. Children ran barefoot through the square, chasing a wooden hoop. A woman sold mangoes from a woven basket. Everything moved slower here. When asked about the wise man, people pointed toward a path lined with orange trees. But he doesn't do therapy, one warned. He just gives tasks. Marco's shoes crunched on the gravel as he walked, wondering if a man who abandoned modern psychology could solve what years of it hadn't. The bag on his shoulder felt lighter with each step. Maybe he wouldn't need those pills after all. The orange trees ended where the dirt path widened into a clearing. A single wooden house stood there, its porch facing the morning sun. No signs, no doorbell, just wind chimes made from broken clay pots. Chickens pecked at the ground near the steps, undisturbed by Marco's arrival. Inside the city, therapists' offices had leather chairs and watercolor paintings. Here, there were only 2 straw mats and a low wooden stool holding a half-drunk cup of tea. The old man sat cross-legged on the porch, his back straight as a fence post. His eyes stayed closed, hands resting on knees so still they might have been roots growing into the floorboards. Marco hesitated at the edge of the clearing. Without opening his eyes, the man raised a finger. Wait. A minute passed. Then 5. Somewhere behind Marco, a goat bleated. The wind carried the smell of baking bread from the village. His shoulders lowered, without him realizing. The tightness in his neck loosening like a coiled rope dropped to the ground. Studies show this happens in natural settings. Stress hormones drop nearly a fifth when surrounded by greenery instead of concrete. The old man opened his eyes. They were dark brown, the kind of eyes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "You're here because your mind is full," he said. Not a question. Marco swallowed. "I need peace. The thoughts won't..." "Then stop carrying what isn't yours," the man interrupted. He stood smoothly, joints not cracking like Marco's did in the morning. Without another word, he walked inside, leaving the door open. Marco followed, unsure if he'd been dismissed or invited. The main room held only 3 things: a cast-iron stove, a shelf with 6 identical clay cups, and a hand pump attached to a water jug. The man took 1 cup. "Tomorrow at sunrise," he said, pumping the handle. Water gushed into the vessel. "We begin." Outside, a group of village children laughed, kicking a ball made of rags. Their voices bounced off the hills, clear as the birds answering from the trees. Marco's phone, buried deep in his bag, buzzed once with a delayed message. He didn't hear it. At dawn, the old man met Marco outside with a glass in his hand. Not a fancy glass, just a simple clay cup like the ones on his shelf. He filled it from the water jug until the liquid formed a curved surface at the very rim. "Walk to the big mango tree by the blacksmith's shop and return," he said, holding it out. "Not one drop can spill." Marco almost laughed. He'd come all this way for a child's game, but he took the cup carefully, his fingers forming a cage around its rough surface. The path into the village wasn't smooth. Stray rocks, potholes from last week's rain, chickens darting across without warning, a donkey cart rattled by, wheels kicking up dust. His whole world shrank to that trembling circle of water. The way it shimmered when he stepped left to avoid a pile of dung. How it tilted dangerously when a boy running with a kite nearly bumped his elbow. His shoulders hunched forward, arms tense as wire. Nothing existed except keeping that surface steady. Researchers studying attention found similar effects. When people concentrate completely on physical tasks, their brains show 40% fewer intrusive thoughts. The village could have been on fire, and Marco wouldn't have noticed. He reached the mango tree, turned carefully, and made the return trip with his tongue pressed against his teeth in concentration. Back at the house, the glass remained full. Marco exhaled for what felt like the first time in minutes. "I did it," he said, expecting praise. The old man took the cup and set it aside. "Tell me what color the blacksmith's new shutters are." Marco blinked. "I don't know. Did the widow Vega hang laundry today?" "I didn't see." "How many dogs passed you?" Marco looked at the ground. His shoes were dusty. The old man nodded. "Come inside. We'll drink tea from that cup you protected so well." The water inside caught the sunlight as he carried it away, throwing bright spots on the dirt floor. Marco stood there, suddenly aware of children shouting somewhere distant, the smell of burning charcoal, the itch of sweat on his back. All the things he'd missed while staring at that glass. The tea tasted of lemongrass and something earthy. Marco held the warm cup between his palms, staring into the steam. "I didn't see anything during that walk," he admitted. "Just the water." The old man counted on his fingers. A girl in a yellow dress was dancing with her shadow. 3 dogs followed the butcher's cart. The widow Vega hung her husband's old shirts to air, the blue ones with pearl buttons. He sipped his tea. "You missed these because your mind had one job. That is not bad. It is training." Marco remembered his office back home, 5 browser tabs open, phone buzzing with notifications, half-formed ideas darting like minnows. His normal state was the opposite of today's walk. Attention smeared across everything, sticking nowhere. Studies prove humans can't truly multitask. When we try, each task suffers, yet modern life praises this fractured attention like it's a skill. "The problem isn't your noisy mind," the old man said, tapping Marco's forehead lightly. "It's that your focus belongs to everyone but you. And steal it. Worries eat it. Your phone rings and you give it away like pocket change." He refilled their cups. When monks count breaths or housewives knead dough, they build focus muscles. Your water cup was just your first weight. Outside, 2 village boys argued over a top, their voices rising and falling. Marco noticed how the sound came in waves rather than the constant noise. Of city traffic, his hands had stopped shaking. "What you practice today," the old man continued, "is choosing your focus instead of letting the world choose for you. At first, it feels like missing things. Later, you see, real sight requires ignoring almost everything." He pointed to Marco's phone, peeking from his bag. "That device teaches you to notice nothing well. The water taught you to notice one thing completely." Marco thought about how he'd navigated the village path. No past regrets, no future fears, just the immediate danger of spilling. For those minutes, his mind had been quiet because it was full, not empty. The old man gathered their empty cups. Tomorrow, same task, but this time, notice when your attention tries to wander. That noticing is the practice. The last light through the window caught the water droplets still clinging to the clay rim, making them glow for a moment before they dried. The third morning, Marco arrived to find the old man carving a piece of wood with a small knife. Without looking up, he pushed a full water glass across the table. "Same walk," he said. As Marco reached for it, the old man tapped the glass with his knife. "This time, understand why this works." Halfway to the mango tree, Marco noticed his mind trying to wander. A thought about work started to form, then melted when he focused on the water's movement. Scientists call this cognitive occupancy. Like a cup, your mind can only hold so much. Fill it with the present, and there's no room for anything else. When he returned, the old man asked, "What did you fight to ignore today?" Marco listed the thoughts that had bubbled up. His unfinished project, an email he'd forgotten to send. "Good," the old man nodded. "Fear needs your imagination like a plant needs light. Starve it." He took the glass and swirled. The water. Regret lives in dug-up memories. Tomorrow lives in made-up stories. But this? He held the glass still. This is only now. You can't spill yesterday's water or tomorrow's water, just what's in your hands. Marco thought of meditation apps that made him count breaths. He'd never understood why until this moment. Like the water, breath is always present, rising, falling, nothing more. The old man wiped condensation from the glass. People think peace is something to build, like stacking bricks. Really, it's already there, buried under the noise we keep adding. He gestured to Marco's phone on the table. "You don't need more knowledge. You need less distraction." That evening, Marco washed dishes at the pump. Instead of rushing through it, he felt the water's temperature change as it mixed with soap. Noticed the patterns the bubbles made on clay plates. A chicken pecked near his foot, and for once he didn't shoo it away impatiently. "Start small," the old man had said. "Tying shoes, buttoning a shirt. Let each task be your water glass." Neuroscientists agree. Daily micro-practices reshape attention faster than occasional long meditations. Back in his rented room, Marco took out the sleeping pills, then hesitated. He set them on the shelf untouched, filling a cup from his water jug instead. The moon reflected in it, wobbling slightly as his hands trembled less than before. Down in the village, a baby cried briefly before being soothed. The sound came through Marco's open window, clear and whole. Not as background noise, but as a single note in the night. He drank the water slowly, feeling it cool his throat, and realized, for these few seconds, nothing was missing. The city smelled the same when Marco returned. Exhaust, fried food, the sharpness of cleaning products in his apartment hallway. But something had changed. Where traffic noise used to grate his nerves, he now noticed individual sounds. A bicycle bell, a shopkeeper calling out, "Prices." The chaos had texture now, like a tapestry instead of a solid wall of noise. His apartment felt different too. The morning sun hit the same stained coffee mug on his counter, but instead of gulping the contents while scrolling his phone, he held the warm ceramic with both hands for 3 breaths. The steam smelled bitter and familiar. Scientists studying meditation found these brief anchor points rewire the brain's default network, the part responsible for mind wandering and stress. At work, his colleagues noticed first. "You went to a retreat?" one asked, eyeing Marco's relaxed shoulders. He shook his head. "Just learned to carry water." His laughter came easier now, unexpected and unforced, like the village children's had been when their rag ball landed in the creek. Sleep surprised him most. No pills, just the simple act of counting his exhales until his thoughts untangled. Some nights he made it to 10, others to 30 before drifting off. The old man's voice echoed in memory. "A quiet mind isn't empty. It's wisely filled." Marco kept one habit from the village. Each morning he filled a glass to the brim and walked from his kitchen to the living room window. Some days he spilled, most days he didn't. The point wasn't perfection, but the noticing, how his fingers adjusted when his mind wandered, correcting before disaster struck. Now, when sirens wail outside his building, Marco feels the sound vibrate in his chest, then lets it pass. When anxiety about tomorrow creeps in, he washes a single dish slowly, feeling the water's warmth. Neutralize the thought. Scans show this is how brains change, not through grand gestures, but through daily rewiring using ordinary moments. On his desk sits that clay cup from the village, a chip on its rim from the journey home. The old man pressed it into his hands at dawn on the last day, still damp from washing. "For remembering," he'd said. Some mornings Marco fills it just to watch sunlight refract through water he'll never spill, in a city that stopped feeling like a war zone. The glass catches a glint of passing headlights, tiny, bright and gone, as he breathes in time with the traffic's rhythm below. You don't need a village or a wise old man to try this. Right where you are, pick something small, a pen from your desk, a spoon from the kitchen, even a pebble from outside. Hold it in your palm. Feel its weight pressing into your skin. Notice if it's warm or cool, smooth or rough. Keep your attention there for just 1 minute. Psychologists call this selective attention training. It's like lifting weights, but for your focus. Start with just 30 seconds, maybe while your coffee brews or you wait for an elevator. Don't expect perfection. Your mind will wander. That's not failure. It's the whole point. Every time you notice your thoughts drifting and bring them back to the object, you're strengthening your focus. Studies show even these tiny daily practices can lower stress hormones within 3 weeks. Hold this into things you already do. When washing dishes, feel the water's temperature instead of rushing through. Eating breakfast, notice the texture of each bite instead of scrolling your phone. These moments add up. Your brain starts to default to the present rather than spinning about tomorrow's meeting or yesterday's argument. Here's what Marco realized. Distraction isn't the enemy. It's part of the training. Each time you catch yourself thinking about your grocery list while holding that spoon and gently return to feeling its curve against your fingers, you're building mental discipline. MRI scans show this kind of practice quiets the amygdala, the brain's fear center, while strengthening pathways for sustained attention. Try it now with whatever's nearest. Your phone, a cup, your own breath. For these few seconds, let the object anchor you. Traffic noise, unfinished tasks, whatever's weighing on you can wait. The goal isn't to empty your mind, but to fill it wisely. Soon, you'll find yourself doing it naturally, noticing the heat of a steering wheel during your commute, the texture of a doorknob turning. These tiny moments become your glass of water carried through hectic days. Marco thought he needed to abandon city life to find peace, but the real shift happened when he understood presence travels anywhere. Whatever object you choose today, hold it like you're balancing water at the brim. When thoughts about bills or birthdays arise, let them pass like clouds. Return to the weight in your hand, the curve under your thumb. The peace was never somewhere else. It's right here in ordinary things, waiting for you to notice. Brain scans show something fascinating. When people focus completely on simple tasks, like balancing water or knitting, their amygdala shrinks in activity like a light dimming. This is the brain's fear center, responsible for anxious thoughts. At the same time, the task-positive network activates, a circuit that handles concentration. It's why hobbies like gardening or coloring calm people. The hands move, the mind focuses, and worries fade. The glass exercise works because it combines two anchors: physical balance, keeping the water steady, and visual focus on the liquid's surface. This dual engagement leaves little room for mental noise. History proves this method. Buddhist monks count beads to stay present. Nuns knead bread dough rhythmically. Even military snipers train by pairing controlled breathing with staring at a single point for hours. All these practices share one truth. Simplicity focuses the mind by design. Modern life encourages the opposite. Phones buzz with alerts, screens flood us with information, and we call this overload living. But research suggests it's more like mental malnutrition. Constant switching between tasks fractures attention. Each notification acts like a small hammer tap on glass. Eventually, cracks spread. The remedy isn't more stimulation, but deliberate less. Choosing what to focus on, rather than reacting to every ping. The old man's strict rule, not one drop, wasn't about water. It was about rebuilding broken attention spans. Constraints train the brain. Like how lifting weights with proper form prevents injury, limiting focus to one task strengthens mental control. Studies of office workers found those who turned off notifications for just 2 hours a day reported lower stress levels. Their brains weren't any different, they just stopped feeding distractions. This explains why Marco's practice worked in the city too. His morning ritual of carrying water reprogrammed his default state. Instead of scanning for threats or distractions, his brain learned to rest in simple moments. The science echoes ancient wisdom. Peace comes not from adding techniques, but subtracting noise. Your brain adapts to what you feed it. Constant stimulation teaches it to crave chaos. Focused simplicity teaches it calm. You don't need hours of meditation, just intentional moments. Notice the warmth of your coffee mug tomorrow morning. Feel your feet on the floor during a work call. These small acts activate the same neural pathways monks cultivate over decades. The glass doesn't care if it's held in a village or an apartment. Water obeys gravity either way. Your mind works the same. Train it deliberately and peace follows, drop by steady drop. Marco's story shows us that peace isn't something we need to search for. It's already within us, waiting to be uncovered. Like him, you can start small. Fill a glass of water today and walk with it, focusing only on keeping it steady. For those moments, let everything else fade. If this story touched you, share it with someone who might need it too. Sometimes all it takes is a simple reminder to pause and return to the present. Peace isn't found, it's remembered. Try it now and see for yourself. The water knows the way.